Last night I saw this video on my home screen. Should Yu-Gi-Oh do IP crossovers like Magic the Gathering by APS Amplifier? And that is a thought that I have actually never had in my entire life, and I've spent most of my life playing this game, and today we're going to be reacting to that video. Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with many YouTube channels. Please go show APS Amplifier some love in the pinned comment description down below. You can find it right there. It might be best for me to be over the left side of this one, but I don't know. He's probably just going to swing his head back. I don't know how I feel about this. It's a very, very interesting idea, and I didn't even know that Magic the Gathering did IP crossovers, but Magic is a very successful game, so who knows?
Today, I wanted to talk about an interesting Yu-Gi-Oh topic that's kind of been on my mind lately, and that is Yu-Gi-Oh collabs or crossovers. I'm not gonna lie, this was heavily inspired by Magic the Gathering's recent series of Universes Beyond and Secret Layers sets.
Okay, now I'm not familiar if this is something that just happened or if Magic the Gathering literally just started doing this. Okay, but that's cool. They have Final Fantasy and Magic the Gathering. My initial reaction to it is no way, keep it away, but I'm interested to see what kind of points he brings up.
Other existing IP and implement them into Magic the Gathering. They've done the recent Final Fantasy collab that I'm sure you can't have not heard about, and they've got a Marvel one coming later this year. They did.
That's gonna actually be majorly successful for Magic the Gathering. I've never heard about that, but again, I don't keep up with that. I just by the time I started this channel like a month ago. I started this channel literally when my love for this game got, revived after hearing about retro formats. So I've been out of the loop with the card games.
Lord of the Rings a couple years back, and that was huge with the One Ring and everything like that. But they've even done more obscure sort of stuff. My Little Pony collab.
What?
This is certainly a controversial thing just right off the bat. Because Magic the Gathering, there are some benefits and some downsides to doing this. And the obvious appeal if you're Wizard of the Coast or Hasbro is that by doing these like crossover IP collabs and stuff, you get to pull in a lot of people who are interested in those things.
Yeah, and it will work. That absolutely will work. But once you start doing it to something like Yu-Gi-Oh, though, because you're not going to be able to play those in like the Edison format, GOAT format, the more simple formats, it's still going to have people playing the game of Yu-Gi-Oh and going like, what the hell is this? This is way too complicated. Everything's overpowered. I don't think it would work. Just again, off the top of my head, but I'm willing to hear him out, okay? Off the top of my head, I don't think it would matter. You'd have people going, okay, I might check this game out, but you won't keep them.
If you're a Final Fantasy fan, then you'll definitely be at least somewhat interested in getting the Final Fantasy Magic cards. But on the player side, it sort of is a bit of a mixed bag because while some people like it, others feel that it kind of takes away from the core identity of Magic the Gathering. Half of the Magic the Gathering sets released this year are crossovers and collabs, and that's something that is divisive to be
Okay. I don't mind the idea, like, again, if this is something that was to move forward, you'd have to make sure that it doesn't, like, ruin the core identity of the game. I think a 50-50, maybe a 75 original, 25% collabs, that I would be okay with, but you would just need to make sure that collabs don't absolutely dominate the entire game.
Sure. To bring this conversation back to Yu-Gi-Oh, it made me wonder, could Yu-Gi-Oh do something similar? Should Yu-Gi-Oh do something similar? And what would be the best way to mitigate the troubles that some players have with like Magic the Gathering's implementation of this?
Dude, could you imagine how weird it would be? I summon my Iron Man. Attack your Gladiator Beast card. Like, what? Dude, that is such a foreign thought. Oh my god.
Yu-Gi-Oh is an interesting game. Unlike Magic the Gathering, I feel like the fact that it's just made by a Japanese company means that the idea of doing collabs is already significantly less, right? Like Hasbro, it's a Western company that they want money and they're more than willing to sacrifice their game's purity or whatever to do it. But I think with Yu-Gi-Oh, it's much more of Konami's like sort of child, their baby, and so they don't really want to like mess around with it too much.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, I am not over from the East or anything like that, but a common thing that you end up hearing is that people from the East are quite disgusted with Western culture and things like that, and don't infect my beautiful Yu-Gi-Oh game, okay? And there's a lot about the West that's, a little incorrect, okay?
That said, though, Yu-Gi-Oh does have a small history of collabs and also references and callouts.
What?
The Gradius archetype that's based on a Konami old arcade video game series, the Gradius series.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all. That's pretty cool, but At the same time, like, it's still like something that's just inspired, and that's still something that's like Konami based. I don't look at this and think the same thing as like a collaboration.
Then you also have a few references to Konami IPs. There are small references to Castlevania, like the Vampire archetype has a few of them, Vampire Lord. And then also you've got some to Metal Gear Solid, another Konami IP. The point is, Konami does do these sort of like indirect like references or callbacks to other IPs that they own.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's such a small thing that I didn't even know that it existed. Like, I'm very familiar with things like Metal Gear. I just didn't know that, like, even any of these cards were heavily inspired. So they can get away with it, and I don't look at that as, like, getting towards any collab area or something like that.
And so I think that would be an interesting place to start with collabs. Because unlike Magic, where it's just kind of like everything is fair game, I think that Yu-Gi-Oh! Could be could take a more sort of measured approach by basically having archetypes dedicated to other Konami things, other Konami IPs. Maybe a full Metal Gear Solid archetype.
Yeah, they could go the route of just making it like just anything that they really Japanese or anything that Konami deems acceptable to collab with.
Maybe a full archetype about Castlevania. I think there could be a little bit more there that wouldn't feel like it's completely diluting things or coming out of left field. I mean, they sort of did do that with Gradius. So other things that Konami actually owns right now, Bomberman, that's something that sort of feels like there's a little bit of potential there.
But even then, I would still feel so odd about, like, I summon my Bomberman, you know? It feels strange to me.
I think the general idea everybody has is give archetypes based on IPs, right? With Magic, it's, you know, a whole entire set that's based on the IP. I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Would be hard-pressed to do all of that, but I think that giving an archetype based on Castlevania is certainly well within the realm of possibility. Another thing, though, that Yu-Gi-Oh! Often does is it does have a lot of pop culture inspiration within its archetypes. So there's obviously things like the Cosmo archetype that's based on Star Wars and Wizard of Oz.
What? Am I stupid? Like, if anybody could comment down below, did you know this? And additionally, is this something that's confirmed? Is this something that's like well known within the community? I have no idea.
But it's not like directly named that stuff. Like, it just, you can sort of see the inspiration, like the creative combinations of those things.
Or is it a case of people just like drawing conclusions that aren't there? It's like, oh my god, this means this, and it's just like Konami literally just wanted to make a spaceship archetype.
There are also things like the Super Quants, which are basically Super Sentai or Power Rangers inspired. There's definitely something there, and I think Yu-Gi-Oh!, I will say, is more tasteful when it's more of like a pop culture reference as opposed to an actual IP or crossover. But there are also a few other IP crossovers that they have done as well. And these are like really small and minuscule, but for instance, there is the Power Pro Baseball collab.
Well, I've never even heard of Power Pro Baseball collab. I don't even know what Power Pro Baseball is, and I don't know what Power Pro Lady Sisters are, or Night Sisters, huh?
That they did. I think they got like exactly 1 or 2 cards that were based on Power Pro Baseball.
And you can play them? They look a little bit strange. I don't know if this is some sort of collectible, if it's something you can actually play in the game, because, I mean, it could just be the screenshot that he got, but it's a little bit weird on the edge, and you don't have like the little text down here. I don't know.
And one's like,
there's a lot more text too for a normal monster, it looks like.
Really just a kind of a reinterpretation of Harpy Lady Sisters, but that actually got me thinking that maybe that's the way that Yu-Gi-Oh! Does like IP collabs. Instead of, you know, entire Universes Beyond set or something, they can maybe pull a Secret Layers-esque thing, where in Magic the Gathering, Secret Layers, at least as I understand it, is mostly an IP that's getting like its characters and items and stuff as Magic cards, but they actually are just alt arts or sort of recolors or whatever.
But at the same time, how does the other company that you're collaborating with benefit from it? Do they? Because those characters, like those characters that I just saw, they are not recognizable at all to me.
Of existing Magic the Gathering staples and well-known like cards and stuff. So the idea with like a secret layer isn't that you're actually introducing like an entirely new set of cards to the game, but you're just like getting basically in Yu-Gi-Oh terms, imagine a mystical space typhoon that's like Sonic the Hedgehog's blue tornado.
But again, like, there's no benefit to the other company for that. There's no benefit. They need to have a bunch of like, there needs to be a mutual benefit between the two companies, and just having like, oh my god, it's a little hint at Sonic over here. I mean, unless like the two companies are friends, which is not the point because they're businesses and not like buddies, you know? That's a toughie for me.
Throwing out very random examples here. It's just more of like an aesthetic coat of paint. So you can play, you know, your Raigekis and your Lightning Storms, or, you know, evenly matched or whatever, with themed art and stuff happening instead. I think that could be kind of cool. That might feel less invasive to Yu-Gi-Oh's brand IP and stuff. Another really big benefit, of course, to this is that it does bring in new eyes, and that's something that Yu-Gi-Oh could certainly always use, is just like,
Yes, that's the most important part, and that is really the point of any sort of collaboration point, right? But the thing is, okay, you bring them in, you still have all of the problems with this game that people are constantly leaving, people don't like, people fell out of love with, and it's more than difficult, more than complex for a new player to come in and learn. I feel like this will only be for collecting purposes, which in the grand scheme of things, the number of that's pretty small.
Faces, more people playing the game is never really a bad thing, at least in my eyes. In addition to that, I think that it would actually add a lot more interest around just like pack opening. I know that there's been some talk about how Yu-Gi-Oh packs right now are kind of struggling a little bit with like, being able to like feel worth it. The pulls maybe don't feel like they're very good. Shops are having trouble moving the cards. And one thing that could be kind of neat without, again, throwing the entire game balance out of whack is by having like alt art cards that are based on Konami IP.
Oh, that's really cool. So just come at it from some sort of collector perspective, and you have the main card, but you have a different artwork for it. That's actually really, really interesting. That's really cool, and I can see that being interesting for a lot of players. I really like it. If they were to ever do IP crossovers, I would personally like that approach. I think it's an excellent idea.
Things like that. Let's say imagine the Spiral archetype, right? If that was like re-skinned as Metal Gear Solid or something, that could be neat because you could get the regular Spiral cards, you could get the Metal Gear Solid Spiral cards, and the Metal Gear Solid Spiral cards might be, I think actually, aren't they based on 007? There's an idea. Yeah, it's like 007, I think. James Bond.
But then I'm worried about too, is this like, when we're talking about the Konami collaborations, is that what we're just talking about? Like, are a lot of people just, drawing conclusions that aren't there for a bunch of cards? That I don't know. I'm actually just asking.
Anyway, so imagine getting those, and those being the versions of the cards that are like harder to pull and they're exclusive and like they have the high price tag. But if you're not actually interested in that, you can just get the regular cards at like regular rarities, and they're still totally playable, and all of it's functionally the same.
And you could, I personally think it'd be cool to just like have them, the rarities that they come out with. But if you want to get even deeper with it, you could have like a special rarity for the IP crossovers as well, or even like IP specific rarities. I think that's really, really nice.
So there's no game imbalance there. It's just, a fun, different aesthetic take on things. And again, if you combine it with like existing Konami IP, at least to start, I think that would smooth a lot of the friction that it might have with players. One last interesting tidbit I'll throw in is that Kazuki Takahashi, when he was alive, actually did a crossover with Marvel where he...
Now, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with who this person is, but I guess there's a... Okay, story and art by Yu-Gi-Oh creator. So is Kazuki Takahashi the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh? So I guess that's what they're saying.
I think drew an issue of like Iron Man, or was it Spider-Man? I'll put it up on the screen, I think, or you can look it up. But the point is, yeah, this is something where like there's small bits of precedence here. Yu-Gi-Oh's done a Puzzles and Dragons collab. That's another mobile game, and like Yu-Gi-Oh's been featured in it. They've done a Hello Kitty, McDonald's like Hello Kitty X.
What? Dude, I have not known about any of this ever. Yu-Gi-Oh and Hello Kitty and friends? What? Oh my god.
Collab. So like, again, it's not unprecedented. There are little pieces there, and that's where I think, we could vault into something actually real just for the card game itself. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I just thought that it was an interesting idea because I do see Magic the Gathering is getting a lot of success, and I think that Yu-Gi-Oh could at least share some...
And if anybody could share some light in the comments down below, I'd appreciate it. Is Magic the Gathering getting success because of the IP crossovers that they're doing, or is the game just like good? Because I know that Magic the Gathering has been very consistent over the years.
Of that success. But I do want to hear from you guys. How do you feel about this? Do you think that this would just taint Yu-Gi-Oh?
My initial reaction is it would just taint the game, because I think it'd be so strange. Like did he use Sonic as an example? I summoned Sonic the Hedgehog and have it going against like Dark Magician. I'm really, really off put by that idea. I like things when I like a lot of collaborations for a lot of different things, especially like in video games, but you have things like Call of Duty, for example, where it just doesn't fit. I hate the idea of collaborations in Call of Duty, and I think it makes the game look goofy, and it's not supposed to, and Yu-Gi-Oh's a little bit more serious too, so I would not like IP crossovers coming into this game, but I do really, really like the idea that he mentioned about like some sort of rarity or alternate type art. I think that's an excellent idea. So please go show the creator some love in the pinned comment description down below. If you want to check out another reaction video we did, you can check it out right here. I would love to have you over there. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Take care, everybody.